What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my new channel, Fight Bet of the Night. We're going to be bringing you weekly predictions, fight breakdowns, and betting tips for all the UFC events. I've been quite successful in the past, like 6 months to a year, of my predictions, breakdowns, and bets. And as I look at a lot of MMA media on YouTube. I'm a massive fan. We're here in London, so when the events are on, I'm up till like 4 in the morning watching the events. But one thing I noticed that a lot of the people on YouTube who give the breakdowns, give their predictions and betting tips, a lot of these channels, yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry, I don't know what you lot are watching. How are you telling me Aaron Blanchfield lock of the night? BS. So, be that as it may, hit that subscribe button. UFC 300. Amazing card finally here. Starting off with a banger. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody No Love Garbrandt. So, Deiveson Figueiredo is going to destroy Cody Garbrandt. There's no way Cody Garbrandt survived this fight. He has a puncher's chance, and literally that's it. Cody Garbrandt has become somebody who's very defensive. He's almost a scared fighter. Puts surviving first. And we've seen that in the Trevin Jones fight. You can't include Brian Kelleher because he's like a bully. Just beat up poor Brian Kelleher because there's nothing coming back. There's no fear. There's no danger there. Kind of a very good fight suited Cody Garbrandt. However, in the Trevin Jones fight, going into round 3, he landed a total of 4 significant strikes. Yeah. Deiveson Figueiredo coming up in weight, looking like the smaller man against Rob Font. But what really impressed me with Deiveson Figueiredo was the way he imposed he imposed the presence in the cage on Rob Font as if he's the bigger man. Walked him down, beat him up, hit him with massive shots, rocked him from pillar to post. And that's what really impressed me with Deiveson Figueiredo. With Cody Garbrandt, he tends to now cycle backwards, use too much lateral movement, and he puts his back towards the cage. He's going to run into danger with Deiveson Figueiredo because he's going to have survival on his mind so much. He's going to be moving around the cage, putting his back up against the cage. Figueiredo's going to cut him off, beat him up, and then from when he lands clean on Cody Garbrandt, yeah, because of Garbrandt's tendency to pull away, use lateral movement, stop, throw shots, he's going to get caught in between because he just does the same thing over and over and over. And like we saw in the Trevin Jones fight, where there was some sense of danger for him, he reduced to throwing 8 strikes in the whole fight, landing 4 strikes going into round 3. So it's an easy one here. Figueiredo's going to destroy Cody Garbrandt. As soon as he lands, I'm reckoning like end of round 1, halfway, like after the halfway point of round 1, round 2. And when he lands on Cody Garbrandt, rocks him, the finish is going to be there any which way he wants. Deiveson Figueiredo for the finish. Middle of the second fight on a massively stacked UFC 300 card. And the odds suggest, and a lot of the experts online on their channels are saying, Bobby Green is going to beat Jim Miller. He's the favourite and he should beat him easily. However, I'm actually personally leaning towards Jim Miller in this fight, and there's a few reasons. Both fighters are getting on in age, with Miller being 40, Bobby Green being 37. However, they're aging differently, and I'll explain why. Bobby Green has a style where he relies off his reflexes, his speed, hands down, does the shoulder roll, tries to counterpunch his opponent. Jim Miller's style is not built off that, right? He's older, but his style of pressuring fighters, walking people down, landing power shots, taking them down, looking for submission victories, constantly on the front foot. Yeah. He hasn't shown any of that really slowing down. In his last fight against Gabriel Benitez, he slowed down massively in the 3rd round, but in the first 2 rounds, he was looking sharp, man. His boxing was looking amazing. He's got his chin tucked, his shoulder upright, has good balance, walks his opponent down, lands good, accurate punches. Bobby Green against Tony Ferguson last year, yeah, was falling apart, got dropped numerous times. His shoulder roll style fell apart from the pressure because he's trying to slip shots, moving, but then he's defensively. Tony Ferguson's coming at him in a straight line like this, yeah, straight line. As Bobby Green's slipping, yeah, he's slipping and he's ending up like facing this way. And it happened numerous times. And I feel that's an old Tony Ferguson. He doesn't bring any of the pressure that Jim Miller does, in my opinion. Jim Miller's a cleaner striker at this age compared to Tony Ferguson last year. He brings more pressure. He's more dangerous. And I just see Jim Miller being more successful in those instances. And if Miller's to land on Bobby Green and drop him, Jim Miller's going to jump all over him and find a submission, 100%. And I feel that's the way this fight's going to go. Jim Miller's going to finish him in the first 2 rounds, going to catch him in something. Because the age of Bobby Green, the styles, it's 2 different things. When a fighter fights like that, they rely on their reflexes, their speed. They're not fighting behind a technical base. They're not working on their strength and condition. Like, you can see physically, look at the 2 different, their bodies. Jim Miller's in shape. He's strong. He's like a unit. Bobby Green's in shape as well, but his style is reliant upon reflexes. So at the age of 37, upon the damage as well that he's taken from Jalen Turner, getting dropped and stopped by Drew Dober, getting dropped before he finished Tony Ferguson, he's still taking damage in those fights, getting rocked all over the place. So the effect of that on a style where you purely rely on reflexes alongside the age and the damage, it's not good for Bobby Green. And that's why he's looked the way he's done against Jalen Turner. Even though Jalen Turner's levels above these lot, he got knocked out badly by him. Jalen Turner's a sniper fighter. Dangerous. However, stylistically against Jim Miller, just for me, it's a bad recipe. It spells trouble for Bobby Green. If, however, the fight goes into the 3rd round and Jim Miller hasn't finished Bobby Green at this point, it's going to be trouble for Jim Miller. And I'm not changing my bet. I still think Jim Miller finishes Green within the first 2 rounds. But if it does go to that 3rd round, we've seen Jim Miller become extremely exhausted and fatigued. That's where Green's live to turn the fight around, potentially stop him. But Jim Miller hasn't been stopped since 2018 by Charles Oliveira. So, do you think Bobby Green's going to be able to put away Jim Miller or hurt him or stop him like that? Out of exhaustion, maybe, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think Jim Miller's going to be bringing much more of a diverse game, too much pressure for Bobby Green. His style's going to fall apart, and Jim Miller's going to get the victory here. And it'll be nice for him. Getting a victory at UFC 100, 200, and now at 300 will be good for old Jim Miller. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Like, subscribe. We're going to break down the rest of the card. But I'm going with Jim Miller in a close one. It's close, though.
Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. I'm going with Jalen Turner in this one to knock Moicano out. I don't feel that Moicano has the ability to impose his game plan or his style on Jalen Turner. Because of the height advantage, the reach, and the gap in striking, I feel that Moicano is going to be in a world of trouble. As one advantage that he has, which is going to play as a disadvantage in this fight, though, is the pressure that Moicano brings to his opponents when he's fighting. He doesn't stop. He comes forward all night. And if there's a mistake to be made by his opponent, he's quick to capitalize on it, though. So Turner does need to be careful. He has to be switched on in this one. He needs to make sure any of his long limbs don't get caught up. However, Moicano himself doesn't really like to persist too many times on takedowns. He can get takedowns, but he doesn't really look to push sometimes, in fights. He can look to, get success via not really even finding success in a takedown. So he doesn't really look to pursue it in a lot of his fights. Some of the times he can't, obviously, because of the ability of his opponents, obviously taking that away from him. And in this fight, I do see that being the case as well. I don't see Turner allowing Moicano any success to even get him on the inside because of Turner's long reach and the striking advantage. And I think Moicano is going to be there all night to be hit, as long as he continues to press forward. And he looks to be persistent with his game plan to walk his opponent down, try to look for opportunities. Turner's just going to piece him up. He hasn't got the best lateral movement to look to mix up striking, to give Turner something else to worry about. That's not Moicano. And that's the only way that I see him winning here, is via decision. If he looks to out sort of strike, move around, give different looks to Turner, maybe attempt some takedowns. But he hasn't got the ability to have any success in that in front of Jalen Turner. The only way he wins, as we know, Turner's never won a decision before. So that game plan Moicano will need to do is basically kickbox and then, attempt a few takedowns. It's just not going to work, because the takedowns, if he looks to be persistent with the takedowns, Turner's very good at snatching up submissions over scrambles, it's trouble for Moicano in my opinion. However, if Turner switches off and makes a mistake, Moicano will capitalise. So as long as Jalen Turner switched on and fights sharp, stays on it, I feel he finds the finish as Moicano comes in to try and make advances. Turner's going to land some serious, accurate strikes on Moicano's head, drop him, stop him for the victory, Turner by finish. Yusuff versus Diego Lopez. This is going to be a crazy fight. Of course, this card is stacked. Otherwise, this would be a fight of the night on most other cards at this one. Diego Lopez is on a tear at the moment. Looking like a killer, rising prospect, man. I'm excited for this guy. He's got a lot to offer in this sport. Showing diverse ability to have good striking, hurt his opponent on the feet, finish them with some dangerous submissions. Very good fighter. Going up against another very good quality fighter in Sadiq Yusuff, who's very consistent, shown to have a high output in the cage in all of his opponents, against all of his opponents, rather, even where he's lost, like the Edson Barbosa fight. For example, a freak accident to get hit with that spinning heel kick, otherwise he would have won that, so we can't really take anything away considering he lost to an old Edson Barbosa. However, in this one, I think the styles here, Diego Lopez just offers a little bit more than Sadiq Yusuff. I think Sadiq Yusuff will have to do something slightly different, and in this fight to win and not try and put so much pressure and not walk forward, not to try and engage in too many like power shots and exchanges with Diego Lopez. I think that's where he gets caught out, he gets clipped, he gets hurt, and Diego Lopez has the ability to snatch up nasty submissions and get the finish. And I feel that if he does fight how he normally fights, Diego Lopez is going to be able to outmatch him. So I feel Sadiq Yusuff's path to victory here is to actually kickbox, engage in some blitzes like occasionally, but stay on the back foot, move laterally, come forward at times, but to keep a distance from Diego Lopez, because Lopez is very dangerous. We're still learning about him. He's still getting better. He's a relatively new fighter to the UFC as well. So, yeah, good fight, man. Very, very good fight. But leaning towards Diego Lopez, I think he has a little bit more to offer than Sadiq Yusuff. But a close fight here, man. I think Yusuff is live to knock Diego Lopez out, because I do feel this is a little bit of a step up for Diego Lopez. We're going to see if Lopez dispatches of Sadiq Yusuff, which I think he will. It's going to show his levels. Excited for the future of this guy. I'm going Diego Lopez. Let us know what you think. I'm going to move on to the next fight. Sterling versus Calvin Kattar. I'm going with Aljamain Sterling in this one. There are some unanswered questions though, but for the most part, looking at Calvin Kattar's decline over his career, I don't think he's going to be in any stead to keep up with the pace of Aljamain Sterling. I think that the dog that was once in Calvin Kattar has been beaten out of him, unfortunately. He's not really someone that I feel can put on pressure anymore, man. He's like sort of weathered. And I think that Aljamain Sterling's striking is underrated. We've seen him in there with some really good strikers like Peter Yan, for example, in the second fight, piecing him up, being too much for him. He has an intense pace. And usually fighters who are smaller, like the shorter fighters of the lower weights, as they get on in their career and they look to like go up in weight, that normally serves as a benefit for them and gives them a second breath of life in their career. And I feel that Aljamain Sterling is definitely going to have a benefit in going up in weight. There's rumours that his strength is like that of a middleweight. So we know Calvin Kattar's takedown defence is impeccable, very hard to get taken down. We've seen it in the Magomed Sharipov fight. You know, that fight against Zabit, he's a good example of it because he's an excellent grappler, man. One of those Dagestani guys. Calvin Kattar was able to defend a lot of the takedowns from him. So, you know, lots of more examples like that in Kattar's career that we've seen. Aljamain Sterling, I think, is a good level wrestler in terms of if he can test that takedown defense, but it's just the height, the size, the strength, the natural weight classes. I think it may, you know, we have to wait and see how that's dealt with. And so even if this gets resorted to a stand-up bout, a kickboxing match, Aljamain Sterling is still in it, so he has a little bit more to offer than Calvin Kattar, but the questions need to be answered. How does he deal with the weight? Is the height, the strength, and the you know, maybe the pressure that Kattar brings him with that, is that going to be too much for Aljamain? First fight in this weight class. Still going with Aljamain Sterling. I think he pulls it off and gets this done on points. If his strength is that of a middleweight, who knows? Let's see if he's able to do something impressive and dominate Kattar with wrestling and find maybe a submission victory. But I'm going with Aljamain by points. Let us know what you think is going to happen in this one. We're going to move on to the next fight. Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. It's Alexander Rakic's first fight in 2 years since being injured, and Jiri Prochazka's first fight since being knocked out against Alex Pereira. Despite the inactivity from Alexander Rakic, Jiri Prochazka himself's been relatively inactive. He hasn't really been that active at all, man. And I think if you're looking at the technical abilities of both fighters and the game plans that each fighters bring to the cage, of course, across 3 rounds, I think Alexander Rakic beats him. I think he offers a little bit more of a diverse game plan. He's the bigger man. He puts together his striking in a more calculated manner. And I do feel that's where he has an advantage over Jiri Prochazka in this one. The inactivity, though, coming off an injury, there is a likelihood there's going to be a hesitancy from Alexander Rakic in round 1. I wouldn't bet on this. I think it's like a close fight, though, because Jiri Prochazka is a madman. He's a savage. He's very tough and he's very durable. And he does tend to, stay persistent on coming forward and attempting to punish and knock out his opponent and hit him with some mad strikes. But I think looking at Alexander Rakic's consistency of his style, his technique, and his underrated wrestling, I think that he might be able to string together a decision victory over Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka's defense is something that I don't like. He's got a fan-friendly style, very exciting, but he's there to be hit. Coming off a KO loss, and I think he was injured himself as well before that fight. No, it was like a year and a half out before he fought that or something, if I'm not mistaken. So relatively inactive as well. And yeah, 50-51. I wouldn't bet on it. Jiri Prochazka's live in any fight. Don't get it wrong, yeah? But I think he is very unreliable. Alexander Rakic is underrated. He's a big dude. And he's very well-rounded. He beat Glover Teixeira, Jiri did, yeah. I love Glover Teixeira. I had Glover Teixeira beating Jan Blachowicz, which he did. He's a very underrated fighter, Glover Teixeira, in my opinion. Dangerous. Because look what he done to Jan. And Jan's gone on to still do well after that, yeah? So can't take nothing away from him. Glover Teixeira's a madman. Punched up Jiri. Jiri got lucky in that fight, yeah? There was an opening. The age over the 5 rounds showed itself. Glover made a mistake. Jiri capitalized. And that's how he become champion. But it still goes to my point of Jiri's not that good, And he's fan-friendly, he's exciting. But he's like, in my mind, innit, it's just, I know what he does, yeah? I know how he fights. And I think a good technical fighter with a good game plan, you can beat Jiri, especially if you've got wrestling, especially if you're bigger than him, if you're quicker than him. And I think Alexander Rakic is those things. But obviously with the layoff, the injury, you can't really have reliance on this one. I'll leave it out. But 50-50 fight, man. Leaning towards Rakic, but it's not even, I'm leaning towards, but I don't know what to say really. It's not something worth it. I don't even think to bet on, but I'm leaning towards Rakic, but not by much because of the layoff and the knee injury. Can't rely on someone who's obviously had time out the cage like that. We just got to see. Just got to see how they are. Wouldn't be surprised if Jiri stops him, if he comes out in round 1 and just puts it on him, sticks it on him, doesn't give him no time to get a feeling for himself in the cage, because Jiri's a savage. Very possible. But leaning towards Rakic here. Let us know what you think. We're going to move on to the next one. Nickal versus Cody Brundage. I'm going with Bo Nickal to finish Cody Brundage in the first round. I think Cody Brundage's grappling defense, his takedown defense is terrible. And so when I'm looking at Michael Oleksiejczuk taking him down, finishing him ground and pound, or like Nick Maximal, for example, how he dragged him up around the cage. All of these holes in the grappling spells trouble for him against Bo Nickal, who we know is a very superior grappler to a lot of those people that he's faced. So Bo Nickal should finish him. Cody Brundage is live though. First round, he is dangerous. He is a bit of a dog. He's going to come with some pressure. He's going to come and explode. So, it's a fight game. Might be worth on top of some confident picks for this week, put Cody Brundage on as extra parlay piece and put a little. I don't know. It will boost the odds up so high. It's worth doing because the odds are so, favourable for Bo Nickal. It's a fight at the end of the day. So, no, in MMA especially, no fight should be that heavily favoured. So, add Cody Brundage as a 10-1 underdog on your parlay piece. Even put it for first round 20. What's that? 25-1. Yeah. I think that's like what? Don't know how it works out and how the Americans say it, but you put £1 down, you win £25 back plus your stake. So add that onto a parlay because I'm telling you, if he does win, it will be in the first round. It will be a freak accident. Not to say it's going to happen, but I'm saying the value's so good for it. You might as well put a little dollar or £1 on a little parlay, including Cody Brundage first round. But yeah, Bo Nickal's just going to get him out in the first round. The odds on that are terrible anyway, not even plus money. So don't put your money down on this fight. And yeah, there we go. Bo Nickal first round finish. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. And I'm excited for this one. Surprisingly, Oliveira's an underdog going into this one. I can kind of see why. However, I'm going with Charles Oliveira to win this one. Both of their styles are dangerous for one another, though. Being that Arman Tsarukyan is someone with good level grappling, I don't think that he would be afraid to engage with some of the grappling exchanges with Charles Oliveira, like we've seen with some of Charles Oliveira's previous opponents, Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, all dropping, hurting, getting the better of Oliveira on the feet. But when he hits the mat, when he drops and they've dropped him and he's dead, they're not chasing him to the ground because they know the threats that he poses, as Charles Oliveira's got the most submission wins in UFC history. The likes of Islam Makhachev, him being that Khabib-type Dagestani Sambo wrestling master, grappling master, these are next level, so they don't care. But I don't think Tsarukyan's on that same level, despite him being a better grappler and wrestler than the other fighters we just mentioned, the likes of Gaethje, Chandler, Poirier. His implementation of wrestling and grappling anyway. However, we've seen Arman Tsarukyan also get buzzed. We've seen him get hurt. What fight was it? He gets hurt with one of his recent fights. He gets clipped with a shot, a massive left hook. Not even a massive left hook, a nicely timed left hook shot, and it's very similar to Charles Oliveira's money shot. Charles Oliveira throws a multitude of beautiful strikes, beautiful straight right hands, laser-like accuracy and focus, knees, but one shot which he has landed numerous times on majority of his opponents and caused severe damage is the left hook shot. I've seen Arman Tsarukyan get clipped with that same shot. Tsarukyan's never fought to this level yet. He hasn't faced this sort of pressure or danger from someone. We have to remember Charles Oliveira's striking is next level. Yeah, he gets dropped by these people, but that's what makes these fights interesting, because Charles Oliveira is dangerous on the feet, but he's also there to get hit. So it's kind of enticing for a fighter to say, you know what, I'm gonna stand in front of him, I'm gonna wing some shots and I'm gonna hurt him, try and get him out of there. And in this fight, Tsarukyan may be able to land something. If he does, he could follow up with the wrestling. However, I see Charles Oliveira being a little bit too much. It is a hard one. Yeah, it's a hard one, but I'm leaning towards Oliveira because of the quality, the experience, the caliber. What we've seen him do, he's not even that old yet, 34-year-old. Time and time again, he's shown himself to be someone who can rise to the occasion, minus the Islam Makhachev fight. I don't see Arman Tsarukyan being able to stand up with Oliveira on the feet, but I do see Arman Tsarukyan mixing up his game a lot more better than Charles Oliveira. I reckon he will set a sort of a pace that Oliveira, I think, will break off Tsarukyan's with his striking. He'll time some nice strikes, but it's going to be something that he'll need to sort of gain a momentum with and sort of adjust to. And I reckon Tsarukyan will be a handful, but I reckon Oliveira will get him out of there. Close fight though, and a good fight. Good fight, but I reckon Oliveira's going to pull this one off and stop Oliveira. Could be wrong though. As I say, close one, wouldn't be surprised if Tsarukyan clips him, catches him with something, and then the wrestling is going to be a question to see how good Arman Tsarukyan's wrestling really is. Because if he's able to get on top and dominate Oliveira like Makhachev did, because you've got to remember another thing, Tony Ferguson is someone who went the same distance as Chandler went with Oliveira. Tony Ferguson went the same distance, the same amount of time, if not more time, my bad, as Michael Chandler did, as Justin Gaethje, as Dustin Poirier went with Charles Oliveira. And why I say that is because at that point when Ferguson fought Oliveira, Ferguson had nothing left in him. And he couldn't get finished by Oliveira, which is indication and reference to the wrestling advantage and what it could bring you against fighting Charles Oliveira, and Tsarukyan has that. I'm switching. I'm going Arman Tsarukyan, man. I'm going Arman Tsarukyan. Someone's telling me he is going to get the job done, and I think it's just a really close one. I think it is very, very close. Very, very close. I might have changed my mind before end. This fight's not going the distance though. Ending in a finish either way. I see both fighters winning. At the moment, I can't make my mind up. I need to look at the weigh-ins and make my mind up, man, and see. But yeah, man, yeah. Let me know what you think. We're going to move into the next one. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway, the people's main event, and I'm super excited for this one. The whole MMA world, can't wait to watch this fight. Everyone's excited. And initially, I was thinking Max Holloway is going to beat Justin Gaethje on points. He's going to cruise away with the victory. But we have to remember here, man, Max Holloway is always the taller fighter, the rangier fighter. He's not in this fight, man. Justin Gaethje is the same size as him, with slightly reach. And this is gonna be a mad fight. It's so close, but I feel I'm leaning towards Max Holloway still. I think there's a few dangers that Justin Gaethje. This is the thing. Look, with Justin Gaethje, if you're preparing for him as a professional fighter, what are you gonna prepare for? A few things: his leg kicks, staying away from his power shots, and I think Max Holloway's style is very, very suited, and will be superior to Justin Gaethje's style. I think if he fights to a game plan and he uses his output economically to stay away from the shots, and then when Gaethje tires, which he does, which is another factor, another reason why I think Holloway is going to beat him. I reckon Holloway can put it on Gaethje, pull away with a decision victory. He might even be able to stop Justin Gaethje. Yeah, I said it. Holloway might be able to KO Justin Gaethje in the spots where Gaethje tends to tire, around 3, 4, 5. He starts to dip in and out of momentum, and he'll fight in spurts. He'll noticeably take a back foot and slow down. Max Holloway doesn't do that. His consistent pace is something that works as a weapon in itself. Like the Calvin Kattar fight. He doesn't hit super hard, but the consistent accumulation of shots damages fighters. So I reckon that's going to play into that in itself, that momentum shift, despite the now height advantage Holloway has to give away, considering he normally fights fighters shorter who are lesser of reach, so Holloway can play to that in his advantage. He's losing that out in this Gaethje fight, but the 5-round duration, I think, is going to serve in his favour. But he's got to be super careful, man. It just takes one Gaethje. He needs to look out for the leg kicks, the power shots. That's all he needs to look out for, really. I think Holloway's movement, his output, his pace, his technique, he can keep Gaethje fighting his fight. He just needs to move around, touch him up, try and outspeed him, use his accumulation of punches and his gas tank in his favour. It's a close fight, man. It's such a close fight because it just takes a couple of dirty leg kicks from Gaethje, a couple of big shots, but then it's just, we can't go on the if buts and maybe of he lands a super shot and then he turns him inside out and ends the fight. That relying on that or even using that as a factor a lot of times in fighting, you can't, because all it takes is them to have a bad night or whatever, then that factor's gone. Then it comes down to who's the better trained fighter throughout. And when you look at it through in and out, I've got to go with Max Holloway. Take away Justin Gaethje's power, would he be that good of a fighter? Would you be saying the same thing? No, you wouldn't. He's just a guy who obviously very good fighter, very talented, everything, of course. But yeah, man, I just think in most scenarios when I think about it, Max Holloway should pull away with the victory here. I think he just got a little bit more to offer than Justin Gaethje. Close one though. Let us know what you think in the comment section. We're going to move on to the next fight, but sticking with Max Holloway in a close one. Wouldn't be surprised if Gaethje gets the finish. Or because of the damage accumulation on Holloway, they might even give it to Gaethje, even if it goes to scorecards. A close one, very close one. Let us know what you think. 300's main event, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Quite an underwhelming main event, in my opinion. I've been watching the UFC for a long time. This is probably one of the worst main events they could have gone with, despite the card being stacked. It is a good fight, but this is like co-main event, sort of like main card fight, maybe third card before the main fight, but not like, yeah. In any case, this is what we have, so we've got to make do with it. More so, the position of Jamal Hill headline in UFC 300 is what gets me as well, because with all due respect to him, yeah, good fighter, dangerous man, puts people's lights out, been looking good recently. But remember, he's coming off an injury, and not only that, yeah, his route to the championship belt, he hasn't really beat anybody. Tell me I'm wrong. Glover Teixeira, old man at that point, well past his best. Yeah, very good name. I love Glover Teixeira, but that's what that was. That was age. But Thiago Santos, Johnny Walker, Jimmy Crute, before getting to that position, and then obviously the last time he's fought was like literally coming up to a year and a half ago, I think, or something like that. So to now jumping against Alex Pereira, who I believe is quite leaky with his defense. Anyway, I don't think he's I think that he's like a very like dodgy guy, man, because his chin is up there in the air, and with people like Jamal who have genuine power, it just takes one shot. But I don't think you can rely on that in a fight like this. I think the quality, the caliber has been proven by Alex Pereira time and time again in his kickboxing career, and then obviously over to MMA. You know, him, you know, beating Adesanya. Yeah, I know he got the avenged loss from Adesanya. Obviously, he got knocked out by Israel afterwards, but he's still shown levels of competing with Israel like that. Israel that fought Strickland was done by then. I reckon Pereira took his soul or whatever, but Alex Pereira should win this fight, man. I think there are some holes in both of their games, but I reckon Alex Pereira is in a better position to exploit those holes. Jamal Hills has a leaky defense for the left hook shot, has very bad tendencies and habits, and sets himself up to get countered with the left hook. And I see that happening. Pereira for the finish by 3. Let us know what you think. Thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back to cover more UFC events every week.